Well, guys, you're up to chapter 7, the very last chapter. Now, this is a very long one. Not only is there chapter 7, but we also have a pretty comprehensive conclusion and also a little bit about me, the author. I hope you've enjoyed the book, Why I Chose Ho Chi Minh City to Live. It really does cover a lot, from love to lifelong desires to even to problems that we've had as an expat living here in Vietnam. I really enjoyed writing the story, and I enjoyed the journey of bringing it together for you. So I hope you've enjoyed it too. Please enjoy chapter 7, conclusion, and about the author. And if you have any comments, make sure you leave them below. And if you want something else, you want me to write another book for you, make another one, I'm happy to do that, because I love sharing stories about Vietnam. Vietnam is a great place, and it has done wonderful things for me. And I'm forever thankful for the gift of being able to live, work, and love in this wonderful country. All right, guys, I'm Ray, and I'm an Aussie in Vietnam. Make sure you subscribe and follow my channel. Enjoy chapter 7.
Chapter 7. What's wrong with Vietnam from a foreigner's perspective? Let me be clear about something before this chapter begins. Everything I am about to tell you comes from a place of love. 13 years of love. Love that has been earned through bruises and bills, through motorbike accidents and marriage, through bureaucracy that would make a saint swear, and traffic that would make a soldier weep. But this book is about honesty as much as it is about Vietnam. And if you have spent more than 6 months really living in Ho Chi Minh City, as opposed to visiting, as opposed to passing through, then you know exactly what I mean. This place tests you. It tests your patience, your wallet, your lungs, your liver, and every piece of cultural flexibility you think you have. And when it's finished testing you, it starts again. So here it is, an honest list, built from 13 years of daily life, of things that are genuinely hard about the city. Not from a tourist on a balcony, from a man who has been living it, breathing it, sweating through it since August 2013. The traffic will never be simple. Let me tell you about a Thursday morning. 6:43 in the morning, to be precise. I was riding to work on a major road near the industrial park in Tu Duc City. The road has 2 lanes for trucks and cars and a single isolated lane for motorbikes, separated by concrete barriers. The system, on paper, is sensible enough. As I approached the traffic light, I found 3 cars sitting illegally in the motorbike lane. These cars had stopped 70 motorbikes from getting through an intersection where motorcycles had the green signal and cars were required to stop. Around me, riders were stuck. The road was flooded from overnight rain. Stopping meant muddy shoes, wet feet, and a ruined start to the day. The traffic jam meant the cars were not moving even on the green. I broke the law at 6:43 in the morning, but I ask you genuinely, what was my other option? Sit behind the car illegally using a motorcycle lane for 15 minutes? Be late for work? Because if every single rider on the road had followed the law at that moment, the gridlock would have stretched back for half a kilometre and nothing would have moved at all. I'm not making excuses. The traffic in Ho Chi Minh City is a mess. And some of that comes from selfish riders who take the easy option on sidewalks because they can. But I want to be honest about where the problem really lies. Roads in this city were designed 60 years ago, long before motorbikes were everywhere, long before cars were possible for the middle class. We are now pushing hundreds of thousands of vehicles through streets that were built for a fraction of the volume. The infrastructure and the population are having two completely different conversations. The solution that is coming is the motorcycle ban. As of July 2026, gas-powered motorcycles are being phased out of the centre of Hanoi, with Ho Chi Minh City following a similar path. Changes to access laws started in January 2026, with further changes rolling out through 2028. By the time this book reaches you, the skyline of this argument may have already shifted. My view on this is complicated. I agree with the direction. I have seen air quality in March and April of this year, and it was genuinely alarming. Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi have both featured in the top 20 most polluted cities in the world in 2025. Standing outside on a bad day in April, you can taste the air in a way that sits in the back of your throat and stays there. Less gas-powered vehicles means less of that. No argument from me on that goal. But the transition is going to hurt people. The English teacher living in District 1 who bought a basic second-hand motorbike because it was all she could afford. She doesn't have the money for an electric bike, and the rideshare service will eat through her salary. The factory worker commuting from Dom Nay, who relies on his motorbike to cover 30 kilometres each way. The public transport doesn't reach him, and the metro isn't finished yet. These are the real people with real problems who are going to bear the weight of the policy change that benefits everyone, while the cost falls on those least able to carry it. Change is necessary, but the pace of change needs to match the pace of people's ability to adapt. That is the tension that keeps me up some nights. The heat and the air. I never thought I would move to Vietnam and end up genuinely concerned about air quality. Vietnam, in my childhood imagination, was jungle and rivers and open skies, not smog. The reality of living in a city of 12 million people with millions of gas-powered motorbikes, construction sites on every block, industrial activity on the edges of the city, and a weather pattern that traps pollution in a low-lying basin through March and April, is this. The air in Ho Chi Minh City is sometimes not good. Sometimes it is genuinely bad. On the worst days in early 2025, the AQI readings in parts of the city hit levels that put them into an unhealthy to very unhealthy range. Standing outside early in the morning, you could see the haze sitting over buildings. The sky turned a strange brownish white. My eyes would water on my ride to work. My wife would ask me why I didn't wear a mask, and she was right, and I still didn't always do it. This is the honest version of the city that nobody puts in the travel brochure. Ho Chi Minh City is spectacular and alive and intoxicating, but it also is a city that is paying the environmental price of extraordinary economic growth over a very short period. The motorcycle ban, the investment in electric vehicles, the metro expansion, these are the right moves, but the transition period is right now. And right now, the air is something you have to manage. Bureaucracy as a way of life. I once spent 2 full days, 8 hours of my life, approximately 50,000 Vietnam Dong in travel costs, an unplanned visit to the phone shop, 2 trips to the immigration office, and a wait of 2.5 hours sitting in plastic chairs to complete a single registration for a government app. The VNEID system, designed to consolidate everything health insurance, tax records, travel documents, government services. Sensible idea. The execution was, let us say, character building. Day one involved a payment, a slip of paper, a photo, and a polite instruction to come back tomorrow. Day two required an online form entirely in Vietnamese, which I naturally couldn't read without help, and arriving by 7:30 in the morning to avoid being turned away at the door. By 9 in the morning, people were being sent home and told to try again the next day. None of this is unusual for Vietnam. There is a rhythm to it, if you are patient enough to find it. The systems are improving. The VNEID itself, once you registered, is genuinely useful. But as an expat in this country, navigating bureaucracy without fluent Vietnamese, without always understanding the unwritten rules, is a constant tax on your time and your sanity. And here is the thing about that. It is exactly as frustrating for the Vietnamese people who live here. They queue the same queues. They fill in the same forms. They wait in the same plastic chairs. I have never found a single Vietnamese person who enjoyed the immigration office. The difference is they grew up in it and have learned to read it. I am still, after 13 years, occasionally showing up to the wrong building. The expat bubble and its damage. Somewhere in the city, at any given moment, there is an expat sitting in a bar complaining about Vietnam. He has been here 3 weeks. Or he used to live here 5 years ago and now posts from another country. And he is absolutely certain that everything about this place is broken, corrupt, dangerous, or simply inferior to wherever he came from. I have sat near that man more times than I can count. I have bitten my tongue more times than is probably healthy. The expat bubble is a real thing. It is an enclave, the English language bar, the social media group, where people share horror stories and warnings and frustrations without ever really integrating with the country they chose to live in. Back in the early days, after Doi Moi, these enclaves made sense. Vietnam was not particularly open to Westerners, and foreigners needed to cluster together to navigate a country that was still working on its relationship with the wider world. But that was decades ago. Vietnam in 2025 is one of the most progressive and open countries in Southeast Asia. The economy is growing. The people are extraordinarily welcoming. The opportunities for integration are everywhere. And yet, the bubble persists. And inside the bubble, the commentary gets louder and more disconnected from the reality. The longer some people stay in it. What frustrates me most is not the legitimate complaints. Legitimate complaints are fine. I have a chapter full of them, and you are reading it. What frustrates me is that the loudest voices are almost always the people with the least actual experience in this country. The backpacker who spent 6 months teaching English in a bar in Bui Vien and now considers himself an expert on Vietnamese politics. The expat on social media who left 3 years ago and still holds court every time Vietnam makes the news. I have been here 13 years. I speak some Vietnamese. Not enough, never enough. I write about Vietnam. I teach in Vietnamese institutions. I am married to a Vietnamese woman, and I still understand less than 20% of what is really going on. That is not false modesty. That is 13 years of learning. The country is complex, deep, historically layered, and culturally rich in ways that take decades to begin to appreciate. Anyone who tells you they have it figured out after a few years is either clearly clever or very wrong. In my experience, it is usually the second one. My advice: if you are new here and tempted by the bubble, stay curious. Learn 5 words in Vietnamese and use them every day. Make one local friend and mean it. Eat somewhere you would not normally choose. Walk down a street you have never walked before. The bubble will always be there if you need it. But the real Vietnam is just outside it, and it is so much better. The noise never really resets. This one is simple, and I will not pretend otherwise. Ho Chi Minh City is loud. The traffic is loud. The construction is perpetual and loud. The karaoke from the house 2 doors down at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night is loud. The roosters at 4 in the morning are loud. The market vendors at 5:30 are loud. The motorbike that needs a new exhaust, which is approximately every 3rd motorbike in the city, is very loud. I have slept with earplugs for 10 years. I own 3 pairs, and I keep one set beside the bed, one in the desk drawer, and one in the pocket of my jacket as a precaution. My wife thinks this is eccentric. She has slept through all of it since the day she was born. I have stopped fighting the noise. I have stopped wishing it was quieter. What I have started doing is changing my hours. Because the one gift Ho Chi Minh City gives you, if you are willing to take it, is the early morning. Between 4 and 6 in the morning, the city breathes differently. The streets are lighter. The air is slightly cleaner. The horns are mostly silent. At 6 in the morning, on a bicycle, this city is the most beautiful thing I've ever ridden through. I have chased sunrises from the Saigon River to the industrial roads north of the city. Those mornings are mine. Nobody owns the early morning in Ho Chi Minh City, but not many people take it either. If the noise is the thing that breaks you, try getting up before it starts. The city rewards early risers more than any other. 13 years in, and I still cannot speak the language. This one is not Vietnam's fault. This is entirely mine. I came here with every intention of learning the language. I tried. I had lessons. I brought books. I downloaded apps. I practiced with students and friends and colleagues until the tone scrambled my brain and I could no longer tell the difference between asking for rice and accidentally insulting someone's mother. Vietnamese is not a language that forgives the casual learner. 6 tones, a grammar system that has no relation to any European language, and the particular challenge that every Vietnamese person you practice on is too polite to correct you when you get it badly wrong. But here is my honest assessment of where the blame sits. If I had put the same energy into learning Vietnamese that I put into running, into teaching, into writing these newspaper articles, into figuring out the bar that lost me $10,000, I would speak Vietnamese fluently by now. The language was available. The opportunity was there. I chose other things. And the consequence of that choice follows me everywhere. There are conversations happening all around me every day that I cannot fully access. There are opinions and stories and jokes and community discussions that require Vietnamese and therefore do not include me. I am an engaged, long-term resident of this country who is still, in some fundamental way, an outsider because I never properly learned the language. Most native English speakers, and I include Australians firmly in this category, arrive in another country with a quiet expectation that the world will accommodate them. We assume someone will speak English, and in Vietnam, increasingly, someone does. But the assumption is a limitation I placed on myself, and I know it. If you are coming to Ho Chi Minh City to live, not to visit, but live, learn Vietnamese. Not just hello and thank you, actually learn it. Your entire experience of this country will expand in ways you cannot imagine until you can talk to a farmer in Lom Ang or follow a conversation at a wedding in Go Vap. The country opens differently when you speak the language. I know this because I have seen it happen to others, and I know what I have missed by not doing it myself. The speed of change that leaves you behind. This one is the hardest to explain and the hardest to complain about because it is also one of the most extraordinary things about living here. Ho Chi Minh City changes fast. Not gradually, not incrementally. Fast. The cafe I ate breakfast at every morning for 2 years is a building site now. The market at the end of my street that I knew by smell before I knew it by name has been replaced by a glass-fronted convenience store. The little district roads that I used to know as shortcuts are half of them blocked by new construction or diverted by infrastructure that arrived without warning. I have watched entire neighbourhoods shift in the time it takes to finish a 12-month teaching contract. I have gone back to a street I knew well and failed to recognise a single building on it. I have driven past a block I cycled through every morning for years and needed a moment to realise I was in the right place at all. As an outsider trying to build a sense of permanence and home in this city, the pace of change is generally disorientating. Just when you feel like you know your patch of Ho Chi Minh City, it reorganises itself. The mental map you have drawn gets edited from underneath you, and you have to draw it again. I watched a morning exercise group of women dance in the courtyard near my apartment in Bintan for 3 years. Same women, same K-pop track from a CD player that had generally seen better days. Same spot by the waterway every morning at 5:30. Then, one morning, they were not there. The courtyard was surrounded by scaffolding, and that spot was gone. I still think about those women sometimes. I hope they found a new courtyard. I hope the lady with the CD player managed to bring her music. But this is the bargain you make when you choose to live in Ho Chi Minh City. The city is not sentimental about its own past. It does not stop to let you catch up. It does not slow down so you can memorise it before it changes again. And while that is sometimes genuinely hard for a person who is looking for permanence and roots, it is also a sign of a city and a country that is going somewhere. Vietnam went from one of the poorest nations in the world to a global manufacturing powerhouse and emerging middle-class economy in roughly 50 years. That did not happen slowly. And the Ho Chi Minh City I live in today, with its metro system and its gleaming towers and its electric motorbikes and its airport expansion and its bridge to Non Chac, is the physical result of that speed. I can miss my old cafe and still be proud of what replaced it. I can be disoriented by change and still choose to stay. Those two things sit together just fine once you get used to them. And yet, everything I have just written about is real. The traffic, the air, the bureaucracy, the noise, the language, the bubble, the speed of change. None of it is invented. And none of it, not one piece of it, has ever once made me want to leave. Because underneath every frustration in this city is a story. The traffic is chaotic because this country went from bicycles to motorbikes to cars in a single generation. That is not failure. That is extraordinary growth, achieved in extraordinary speed by extraordinary people. The bureaucracy is complex because this is a country that rebuilt its relationship with process after decades of war and economic isolation. The noise is constant because this is a city of 12 million people who are alive and doing and building and cooking and singing and living with every piece of themselves. I came from a country where things work, mostly, where the traffic flows are reasonable, the admin is manageable, the air is clean, and the streets are quiet by 9 o'clock. And I left that country on purpose. I chose this one. I chose the chaos and the heat and the noise and the motorbikes and the queues at the immigration office. I chose all of that because underneath the frustration is the spirit of the place. And the spirit of this place is the reason I'm still here, 13 years later, planning to be here for every year that remains to me. Conclusion. How I love Vietnam. I started this story in front of a television camera, standing there with 100 people looking at me, trying not to cry, which is not something I ever thought I would say about myself. A kid from Blacktown, western suburbs of Sydney, who spent 40 years listening for a voice he couldn't quite find, suddenly being told by Vietnam that the story he had written about this city had been chosen as the winner of a national writing competition in Vietnamese, a language I don't even speak properly. I've had many moments in my life that made me question how I got here. That was one of them. But the honest answer, as I stand back and look at the full journey from that bedroom in Blacktown to the newspaper awards ceremony in District 1, is that I got here because I refused to stop. I refused to stop dreaming when the dream was uncomfortable. I refused to stop chasing when the chase was expensive and uncertain and frequently miserable. I made it to Vietnam not because I was talented or particularly clever or especially brave, but because I wanted it badly enough and waited long enough and eventually pointed myself in the right direction. Vietnam did the rest. What this country has given me is difficult to put in a list because it is not really a list. It is a feeling. It is the feeling of waking up in the morning and knowing exactly where you are and exactly where you want to be. It is the feeling of belonging to a place that did not create you but chose you anyway. Or perhaps the feeling of choosing a place so fully that it eventually chose you back. It is sitting in a plastic chair on the street stall at 7 a.m. with a bowl of pho that costs less than $1, watching the street come to life around you, feeling more content than you ever have felt in a comfortable restaurant anywhere in the world. It is the ride along the Saigon River at sunrise, the light coming through the trees by the water, the city still mostly quiet, the day not yet broken open. It is the particular kindness of Vietnamese people towards someone who doesn't entirely deserve it, which is to say, towards me. And it is love, the actual, specific love of a Vietnamese woman who walked into my life on Christmas Day 2018 and refused, quietly and without fuss, to walk back out again. Not even when I gave her every reason to. Not even when the broken version of me turned up, uninvited, and sat in the middle of what should have been something simple and good. She stood there with me through it all. And what I found on the other side of it all was this: a home, a real one. Not the address, not the apartment, not the city. A home in the truest sense of the word, which is the feeling of being completely yourself in the presence of someone who knows you completely and stays anyway. That is what Ho Chi Minh City gave me. The city, the people, the culture. They all conspired to give me the life I had been trying to find since I was a boy with that shortwave radio in a bedroom in Blacktown, turning the dial, listening for something I couldn't quite name. I found it. It was here the whole time. I am not sure how I could say thank you to Ho Chi Minh City for what you have given me. I still don't think I deserve it, and I still believe I need to give more. Your heart, your kindness, your softness. It is the human factors of Ho Chi Minh City that go straight to my heart. Oh, and the smiles. When you catch the eye of someone and their face lights up as they smile with you, that is where the heart of Vietnam can be seen. And so to Ho Chi Minh City, I can only say what I've been trying to say for 13 years and never quite got right. Thank you for your warmth of your people and the chaos of your streets. Thank you for the pho and the banh mi and the cafe sourdough. Thank you for the teachers and the students who made me feel useful, for the strangers who smiled at me when I was lost, for the woman who walked past me in a sky blue Alzay on the day I arrived and welcomed me without saying a word. Thank you for the morning light of the river, for the sound of the motorbikes that I have long since stopped hearing, for the sound of the motorbikes that I have long since stopped hearing as noise and now hear as the sound of the people going somewhere, doing something, building something, living. Thank you for the children who waved at me from the back of the trucks on the country road in Lo Mang, for the old man in Hoi An who poured me tea and asked me where I was from, and then told me in very careful English that Australia was very far away. You are right, old man, it is. Thank you, Ho Chi Minh City, for what you have given me, for what you have become, and for letting me into your heart. I chose you, and every day you chose me back. About the author. The author is an Australian writer, teacher, and long-term resident of Ho Chi Minh City. Born and raised in the western suburbs of Sydney, he grew up in a household shaped by his father's service in the Vietnam War, a conflict that was never spoken about directly, but that quietly shaped the boy who would one day make Vietnam his home. He arrived in Ho Chi Minh City for the first time in August 2012. He returned a year later with 2 suitcases and no plan. He has been there ever since. Over more than a decade in Vietnam, he has worked as an English as a second language teacher at schools and corporations across Ho Chi Minh City and Dom Nay province. He has written extensively about expat life, Vietnamese culture, and the social and economic changes shaping the country. His work has appeared in Toi Chair News, one of Vietnam's leading English language publications. where he writes a regular column on life in Vietnam from a foreign perspective. In 2025, he entered a short essay into the National Vietnamese Language Writing Competition held to mark the 50th anniversary of the end of the American War. He won first prize. He is married to Loan and lives in Ho Chi Minh City, where he continues to teach, ride bicycles before the city wakes up, and argue good-naturedly with his wife about rice. Why I chose Ho Chi Minh City to live is his deep feelings about finding a home.